Double-stranded knitting. It's literally knitting two strands of yarn together at the same time, and it is the easiest way to elevate your entire experience of knitting. So today I want to share with you the things that I've learned about color and texture through double-stranded knitting, and I also want to share with you my 5 most favorite double-stranded knitted fabrics right now. Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Felicia from SweetGeorgia and the School of SweetGeorgia. We have been making hand-dyed yarn since 2005 and I have just been completely obsessed with color and yarn and the fabrics that can be created out of that since that time. One of the very first patterns that I ever released is such a simple pattern, it doesn't even need explaining, but it is this sample, this pattern called the 5x5. And literally all it is a 5x5 ribbing. So it's 5 knits, 5 purls. You make this big long thing and then you seam it together at the end and then it gets worn double wrapped like a cowl. I've made a bunch of these, both by hand and also now on the knitting machines. The reason why this project has captivated me for so long, for so many years, is really because it is the canvas to be able to combine different yarns, different colors, different textures, and just have a feel what it feels like and all the different things that can be created from this. Now, the reason why this particular cowl captivated me for so long was because they were colors. There's 2 colors being knit together, and the 2 colors, one was a little bit cooler and one was a little bit warmer, and they didn't look like they would go together. But when you knit them together, they just created this new fabric that had pops of pink come out, pops of orange come out, pops of brown come out. And so I became super interested with this particular idea, mixing colors from different aspects of the color wheel. And then the other thing is that this was all held together with a strand of silk mist, which is a very, very fine lace weight silk mohair yarn. And that just created this beautiful halo to everything, just a bit of fuzz, a bit of warmth. And so I've been doing this for a number of years, just carrying a strand of silk mist together with a whole bunch of other projects. So I want to convince you that holding 2 strands of yarn, knitting them together, is the best thing and the best thing to experience with your knitting. And we have a couple different reasons why I think that this is a good thing. And it's first that working with lace weight yarn is actually more economical than you think. There's just so much yardage in this. So there's 325 yards in one little skein. It's a 50-gram skein of silk mist, and so this actually goes a long way. You could, in fact, knit this entire shawl out of one skein of silk mist. So you start in the middle here, and then you keep increasing, and then it finishes with a bunch of lace at the bottom. So light and fluffy. Anyways, so you can knit this entire thing with one ball of this. We have other skeins of lace weight yarn, like the merino silk lace is 700 and something, almost 800 yards of yarn. And so with that one skein of yarn, you could knit actually 2 shawls like this, or knit a giant shawl. So lace weight yarn, lots and lots of yardage in lace weight yarn. The other thing about these little lace weight skeins is I feel like it's a little bit of a taste of a luxury fiber that you might not otherwise get to indulge in. So it's not very often that we're going to knit an entirely 100% cashmere sweater or 100% alpaca or whatever it is. And so using something like this adds just a little bit of that luxury and a little bit of that enjoyment. So a little skein like this of silk and mohair, or a little skein of something like this, which is the cash silk lace, just a little bit of cashmere, a little bit of silk, and it can just extend everything so beautifully. One of the things that I've heard about working with lace weight is that it just takes forever to use a skein of lace weight. It takes forever to knit lace. And that is because, you know, when you're knitting lace, the stitches are small, the yarn is fine, you're making tiny little stitches, you're knitting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stitches. And so it feels like knitting a lace project just takes forever. When you're knitting the lace weight together with another yarn, then you're thickening up that fabric, you're thickening up that yarn, and then your fabric is going to have bigger stitches, it's going to have larger gauge, and then projects at a larger gauge are going to knit faster. So you get to enjoy all of that. Finally, the last reason that I like the idea of knitting more than one strand together is that you get to enjoy the yarns that you've maybe had in your stash for a long time, but experience them in a whole new way by combining them with other textures, other colors. So this is actually a hat that I cranked on the Centro just a couple days ago, and you can see that this color outside here, this is superwash worsted in mink. And so I've had this ball of yarn in my stash for ages. It was left over from the Veronica cardigan that I knit many, many years ago. And then I had this cone of yarn. This is actually very similar to the Silk Mist. It's the same composition as Silk Mist, but I bought this in Japan maybe 15 years ago. And so this cone, together with this mink yarn, I cranked together this hat on the Centro. Now, I thought that this was very interesting because the way that the yarns went into the fabric on the Centro, I did not allow the yarns to twist around each other or anything like that. And so the mohair silk yarn ended up on the inside, or on the pearl side of the fabric. And so on the stockinette side, you can kind of barely see this color. You can barely see this mohair color. All of the mohair is like on the inside of this hat. But because it's folded, and when you wear this hat, it's extremely warm because all the mohair is insulating on the inside of the hat. So I just thought that this was actually a really, really interesting exercise. You can also see this is one of the pom-poms from Yarn Bowler. And just to show you how it works, you turn the hat inside out. This is the closure for it. I personally really, really like these ones where you tie the pom-pom to the inside of the hat. And then when you want to, say, take your pom-pom off to wash the hat, you can just undo this bow, undo the ribbon. This little foam button will just slide off. And then you can take your pom-pom off and then wash your hat. I did just want to take a second to thank Yarn Bowler for sending all of these pom-poms. They are amazing and gorgeous. So I have a lot of hats that I'm going to be making soon. So one of the biggest things last year was that we started to create a brand new color system at SweetGeorgia based on a specific color palette where all of the colors are interrelated and intermixed, and they all go together. The idea is that they all mix and match together. So this is the elixir set of our color system. And you can see that there are, you know, reds in here. There's a little bit of orange in here. There's going to be yellows. There's greens, there's blues, there's purples. This one is a version of that color wheel. So if we look at this as a color wheel, then we can also look at how these colors work and intermix together in combinations. So when we mix together colors that are close to each other on the color wheel, meaning that maybe they're adjacent to each other, like maybe this green and this gold together, those two are analogous. Maybe this amber ale and the sangria, these two colors are analogous. These three colors are analogous because they're next to each other on the color wheel. Mixing those kinds of colors together can produce a lot of really beautiful, soothing, calming effects, okay? So I want to show you some of the samples that I have here that have been knit by Pearl from the School of SweetGeorgia. I just want to thank Pearl for the amazing work that she has done to make all of these swatches for us. She actually knit 45 swatches, casting on, binding off, finishing perfectly all of these swatches. They look amazing. So first, let's look at some of the swatches where the colors are right next to each other on this color wheel. They're right next to each other in the progression. So in this case, this is actually going to be black raspberry and cassis. So these two colors next to each other on the color wheel, very, very similar. And this is the swatch that comes out of it, right? So overall, very smooth kind of color presentation. It's all very nicely mixed together. Now, if we go a little bit further and we say go with two that are close to each other on the color wheel, but not exactly next to each other. We have one that's a little bit gold. This is the amber ale and the black raspberry mixed together. Those two mixed together make this swatch. I think that these colors are really interesting, seeing these two together. So kind of going from here to here, already a big, big difference. And then if you want to go and look at complementary colors, what is the complement to red? It's actually green. So if we're looking at black raspberry as our main color or first color, then the complement to that is going to be the green color. So these swatches have been knit out of Tough Love sock, and so 2 strands of Tough Love sock held together makes a worsted weight yarn. So you can see that the gauge on this is going to be a little bit bigger, a little bit thicker. And so when you mix and combine those two colors together, you're getting kind of this kind of effect with those complementary colors. This one is the amber ale and black raspberry. So depending on what your preference is, you might find some of these colors a little bit too jarring. Maybe they don't mix and blend the way that you would like them. But the whole point is that Pearl knit 45 samples so that we could see every single combination of every single color. And so some of the colors are amazing. The combinations turn out beautiful. Like this one is one of my favorites. This one is the Boreal Forest and Amber Ale mixed together. That's a green and a gold, which I also love. This one is the Honey Gold and Amber Ale mixed together. These are some of my favorites as well. I feel like they're really interesting in terms of the color mixing and just the richness and depth. Just pops of orange, pops of blue coming out. But this is Stormy Night combined with Amber Ale. So that is basically these two colors to make that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to photograph each one of these swatches so that I can make a guide to show you what they all look like once they've all been knit together. This will hopefully help us with determining what we're going to mix and combine in the future to create new projects, but can also help you with some ideas about how colors mix and blend together. Do you like color combinations that are analogous, where the two colors are next to each other on the color wheel? Or do you like colors that are a little bit more jarring, a little bit more complex because they're from opposite sides of the color wheel? I tell you that Amber Ale is one of my favorite colors. And so here is a combination with Amber Ale and Twilight. So a purple and an orange. And this is the result of that. It is so cool. I think if you know me, I think you know that these are my colors. So yes, I am going to photograph everything today and make this PDF very shortly so that you guys can also have this information as reference as well. These swatches have all been developed so that way we can redo our original color play course, which was about color theory, helping everybody make color combinations, learning about how the color wheel works, all of that kind of stuff. So all of these swatches are going to be used as part of that whole new course that we're going to be developing for the School of SweetGeorgia. So I will let you know when that's done, but right now I have to take some photos. So that's a little bit of a look at how color works when you double strand yarn, but you can see that this is two strands of Tough Love sock. So they're both exerting equal dominance on the fabric. Now, what if you were to say like use one strand of Tough Love sock in Stormy Night, but then use a super, super fine lace weight mohair silk kind of yarn as that Amber Ale and carrying that through? Then you'd get mostly blue happening with this fuzz of like light orange going through it. I feel like that would be also really fascinating to see. And so that's a little bit of where I've gone and done more exploration. I've been playing a lot with other swatches here. And so some of these are looking at texture and some of them are looking at color. So this one is actually the BFL and Silk Fine combined with Cash Silk Lace. And this one, they're both the same colorway, so you can see that it creates this kind of smooth appearance to the fabric. But the cashmere in here really just makes this fabric swatch a lot softer. I personally really like BFL, but BFL has a little bit of a toothy sort of feel, a little bit of a rustic feel to it. And so combining it with a little bit of cashmere, the cashmere just softens the whole thing up. This second swatch is actually one of my favorites. This is the Black Raspberry in BFL and Silk Fine mixed with Silk Mist in Cassis, and it is just, I want to make everything out of this particular fabric. I love this mix. There's a halo to it. There's a shine to it. It's just, I like it. And then this last one is super, super luxurious. This last one, you can see it's a little bit see-through, it's a little bit gauzy. This one is Cash Silk Lace. It's a cashmere and silk lace mixed with Silk Mist, which is a mohair and silk lace. So these two mixed together. You can hopefully see the stitches are shiny. There's a bit of a halo happening here. It's glorious. Like this would make a beautiful shawl, could make a beautiful scarf, just like that. It would be perfect. Yeah. One skein of Cash Silk Lace and one skein of Silk Mist could make quite a beautiful, beautiful shawl. And it's just got drape and slink and just beautiful. Now, in the second batch of swatches here, I knit another sample of that BFL and Silk Fine together with the Silk Mist. A little bit of fuzzy halo there happening. But I knit this at a slightly tighter gauge because I wanted to see if there was something that was a little bit more sweater appropriate. But this feels really, really lovely. This next one here is also very interesting. This is the mohair and silk sock mixed together with cash silk lace. So it's a cashmere and silk lace weight mixed together with a sock yarn that is mostly mohair, but mohair not in the fuzzy sense of mohair. Our mohair silk sock is a shiny mohair, and that one is really, really great for making hard wearing socks, but it also has this very luxurious, drapey, slinky kind of feel to it as well. And so mixing these two together has just made an incredibly, incredibly soft fabric. And then finally at the bottom here, you can see I've knit two swatches. They're two big swatches. And the only difference between them is the tension. So I knit one, this first one, at a little bit of a firmer tension, and the second one at a little bit of a looser tension. I personally prefer the looser one. I mean, you can see this is actually superwash worsted mixed together with silk mist. It's superwash worsted in cassis, and then it was mixed with this color of silk mist, which is chili pepper. So we have a thick color that looks like this and a thin color that looks like this mixed together. Overall, you're getting mostly that pink color and it's just a faint hint of the orange color. You're not getting like, you're not seeing orange everywhere. You're just seeing a halo, a misting of this particular color, and it just makes everything a little bit lighter, a little bit brighter. Also feels amazing. So this is worsted weight with a little bit of silk mist. So this, I feel like, is going to become a sweater at some point for me. So these are some of the combinations that I encourage you to check out. The first one is my most favorite, which is that BFL and Silk Fine mixed together with the silk mist. I think I already started working on the no frills cardigan with this combination. I also want to make a bunch of other things with this particular combination. So you can't see, but on my office floor, there's probably about 20 different skeins of BFL and Silk Fine in all different colors, trying to figure out which colors to use. But yeah, I think that that is definitely right now my most favorite combination. But if you like soft, 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 then I would look at that cashmere and silk lace with silk mist combination, making that really slinky, almost see-through kind of fabric. That is number 2. The number 3 one that I'm liking right now is this superwash worsted with silk mist. So this is a really fun combination as well. And I'm knitting this sort of like at a looser gauge. I think this is about 16, 17 stitches per 4 inches, and it feels amazing like this. The other one that I didn't show you today, but this is from last week's Centro hat video, the mohair and silk DK mixed together with the silk mist also makes this amazing combination, which I love. And number 5 is one of the nicest combinations, is just tough love and tough love held together to make a worsted weight fabric. So this is really, really lovely. And I can just imagine, you know, taking these 2 colors and knitting something like this with it, or taking these 2 colors and knitting this. There's so many different options for mixing and combining different colors, different textures. Just look in your stash and see what you have. Like, see if there's a favorite yarn that you have, one skein of yarn that you just feel like you can't do anything with that. Maybe get another yarn and combine the 2 together. Get like a silk mist, silk mohair, something lacy, something textured, something a little bit luxurious, and then just mix the 2 together and then see what new thing you can create out of that. I feel like it's a wonderful way to enjoy the stash that you already have. If you are interested in doing some of this double-stranded knitting in the month of February, Sweet Georgia, we are going to be hosting a hold along. So it's a make along, it's a knit along, where basically all you do is find 2 skeins of yarn, knit them together to make whatever it is you want, and we're going to talk about it and share about it inside both the School of Sweet Georgia forums, if you're a member of the school, and also our new Discord servers. And we do have a blog post that Tabitha wrote where she explains entirely how to use Discord, how to sign up, how to post messages, how to comment, how to react, all the things that you want to do on that platform. So we have that available for you as well if you've never used Discord before. Now, if you're looking for a pattern or a project that would lend itself really, really well to this hold along kind of concept, Tabitha did write a blog post where she listed out a whole bunch of suggestions for patterns for what you could do. Of course, you can always make this 5x5, but she also has this Nylus cowl pattern, which is a very, very simple, beautiful pattern, highly textured, and she has actually knit this in a number of different combinations as well. So I believe this is BFL and Silk DK combined with the Silk Mist. You can see up close the texture of that. You can see that halo, those beautiful textured stitches, and just that little bit of color from the Silk Mist kind of peeking out every so often. And she's also knit a second version of this with some sea silk lace as part of the mix. So I'm showing a bunch of wool and silk and mohair kind of blends, but you can definitely also do this with our linen silk blends, sea silk blends, anything that you want to mix and combine together. I feel like it overall tones the colors and changes colors, shifts colors in such an interesting and beautiful way. So please do join us in February for that hold along. Join us on Discord. I want to see what you're making. I want to see what you guys are mixing together. We haven't even talked about mixing gradient sock blanks and how that would all work and how that would change colors and everything. So I would love to see what you're making. As well, to hopefully make this a little bit easier for you, we do have a sale going on right now for lace weight yarn. So you can find the discount code for that in the description box below, and hopefully join us for a whole month of knitting things together. Held together, knit together, hold along. It's very Thank you so much for joining me today. I would love to hear from you in the comments below. If you double strand, what's your favorite combination of yarns for double stranding? What's your favorite gauge? What's your favorite pattern? I want to know. And if you like this video, please hit the like button. And if you like more videos like this, please do hit subscribe. We come here every Friday and we talk about something to do with color, craft, yarn, fiber arts. I like to talk about weaving, knitting, machine knitting, basically anything that you can make with yarn. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you in the next one. All right, bye for now.